talking about ancient Rome and Roman Republic. Geographically, we can say that Italy is, a narrow peninsula on the Mediterranean Sea, and it has fertile plains and valleys, and overseas trade, very known with its overseas trade. And as I told you before, there is a Mediterranean climate also, same as that one of Greece, which is comfortable for habitation. Now we want to talk about the rise of Rome. The early inhabitants of Italy, they came from Switzerland. Okay, Switzerland, and then they went to live in northern Italy. Okay, and we can here remind you of the Egyptian and Cretan civilization that also came to Italy. So we have people coming from Egypt and from Crete to Italy. So we have the western coast, let's say, was inhabited by people called Etruscans, and they came from Asia. It's called Asia Minor. And we have, what is called Tuscany, which is culturally known in Italy, modern Italy nowadays. And we have also the Greeks of southern. They came also into Italy to stay there. And you can also see that in terms of religion, they were very known for their religion and art and alphabets, same as the way we treated Greeks. But the Greek colonies, were known in Sicily more than any place other. Okay. Now, what about the conquest of Greece and the Aryans who came to Italy? Now, the Aryan tribes that were called Latins, they occupied what is called at that time, okay, that is referring to Latins. And they were very known with agriculture and cattle rearing. And they were known for the exchange of goods and establishment of settlements. And also we have what is called the foundation of Rome, which is the Palatine Hill. It was settlements in what is called the Palatine Hill, with 6 settlements that were united to form a new city, which is called Rome. With the legend that Rome was founded by twin brothers. This is very important. Rome was founded by twin brothers named Romulus and Remus. They are twin brothers that formed Rome, or founded Rome. That was a legend, of course. Now, what about the establishment of Rome as a republic? Now, the monarchy was abolished. Rome was known by many historians in the beginning as a monarchy that was abolished and become a republic after it was declared in 590 BC. And in that time, the whole of Italy came under the Republic, and even its influence was established. Okay. Now, it was also Rome which brought the whole Italy under one rule. And the Roman Republic or Empire, which followed it, was known as a Roman Empire. Okay. Now, the difference between ancient Greeks and Romans, this is very important also to mention, that was that the ancient Romans, they learned many things from the Greeks. Okay, so the origin was refers to Greeks. Now, there was also, they were marked as between two races. The Greeks were highly, imaginative and thinkers, let's say, especially if we think about the Athens, whereas the Romans were practical and practical peoples, especially that if you remember last time we said that they concentrated more on law, Law, and then you know that the Greeks excelled also in many fields such as art and literature. Now, what about also science and religion? Also, they excelled in that until they concentrated or devoted themselves to what is called politics and law. Now, the Greeks were emotional, but the Roman mind was cold and rigid. This is very known that Greeks were more emotional than the Romans. The Romans are more cold and rigid in a way because they concentrate on politics and law. Now, what about the city-state or the city-states of Greeks? The way it was divided in Greek that represented patriotism. It was limited to their respective city-states. While on the other hand, the Romans, they united the whole of Italy and they took Italy as their own. Okay, and the Romans had a tremendous capacity of what is called organizations. So they thought of organizational nature, and that was the beginning to form what is called the Republic, or Roman as a republic. Now, after the abolition of monarchy of the nobles that captured the political power, they were called patricians, as I said before, which is the ordinary citizens who were known as plebeians, or they call them plebs or plebs. Now, the plebeians or plebs, they have the struggle, what is called struggle between both the patrician and the plebeians. They had same as that struggle that was between Athens and, as I said before, and Sparta. Okay. Now, the plebeians and the plebs were generally poor and oppressed by the patricians, okay, who were overcoming them. Now, they did not have at that time political rights, so the plebeians, they started a movement to secure themselves through what is called political rights, okay? And for this, they followed a novel method. They did not cooperate with the patricians, and they deserted Rome. Now, consequently, normal life in Rome became, paralyzed in a way, because they were doing everything for the patricians. Okay. Now, they continued this way, and higher administrative posts were also opened to them later, because of their refusal to accept injustice. And that led to what is called the establishment of a cordial relationship between the two groups. So that's what's called the Codification of Law as a code. We mentioned that last time you saw a video where we took the way they treated the codes of, or the laws as tablets and written on tables, on tablets. Now, as in Athens, the Romans also codified their law, which were inscribed on 12 bronze tablets, and that was in 450 BC. And this, immensely benefited the common people. In 367 before Christ, the tribune, which is called the tribune Lysinus Stolo, he formulated a set of, they formulated a set of laws that it was called Licinian laws, because named after Licinus. Okay. The Licinian laws were meant to save the poor peasants from the oppression of landlords. And according to Roman constitution, the administrative and military powers were vested in the hands of two magistrates called consuls. Now, they both were enjoying equal powers, and each acted as a check on the other. So every consul checks on the other to have equal powers. And there was no possibility of one becoming an absolute ruler. Now, they were also elected only for 1 year. So this is very important in the way of organizing it. So in this way, they safeguard or they prescribed against absolutism. So to guarantee fairness and to work against absolutism, they made it only for 1 year. So in order to meet the emergency due to external invasions also, the constitution provided them for the appointment of a dictator for a period of 6 months. And this dictator was nominated by the Senate, and he was given the power to take whatever measure he thought appropriate to meet that danger. So that was how appointed, or the appointment of dictator during emergency. So only during emergencies, and this is what is known nowadays in Arabic world, in the Arab world, for what is called قوانين الطوارئ. So it's because of the emergency dictatorship only is accepted. So this is very important. He was also not allowed to leave the state during the emergency, and this is very important, the way they used to think about it, to get rid of danger and to confront danger situations. Now, in these terms of office, they could have extended it, and in situations they felt it was necessary. Okay, that is in situations of war and danger, how they treated their nations. Now, let's talk about the Senate. Now, the Senate was the most powerful body in Roman Republic, and it consisted of what they call ex-magistrates of 28 years of age or more. That was the limit of it. And it was a permanent body of senators who were members for life. Okay, so not only it elected consuls and other officials, but also they looked after foreign affairs and military organizations and provincial, what we call provincial administration and public expenditure. So that was all approved by the Senate. Now, Rome at the time of crisis, they treated the decline of the Senate because they were concentrating on different wars they faced that made the republic utterly change into collapse later on. Now, the Senate was what we call an aristocratic body, okay, as we have nowadays, Majlis al-Ayan, very aristocratic. And there was, the possibility to misuse the power of it. So the Constitution, therefore, provided for the appointment of 2 tribunes in order to protect the interests and the plebeians themselves. So they have what is called tribunes. And this arrangement was mainly due to the demands that were made by the plebeians. Now, what about the assemblies? You should know also that there was a separate assembly for the plebeians that is called comitia. It's like a committee, okay, comitia tributa, okay, that is in Roman. language, and or Italian nowadays. And in the beginning, the laws were passed by the comitia or comitia tribita, and they were applicable only to the plebeians until they were extended to all, including the nobles and the patricians. So, but that took a lot of time. And this assembly elected that what is called tribunes and other minor committees. The chief judicial officer there at that time, that was the chief judicial officer of the Republic. Okay, it's like nowadays النائب العام في المجلس. Okay, he was an officer that is concerned with treasure and municipal and administration, and all, let's say, officers of the Republic to be organized after his care, with what is called nowadays the modern democratic constitution. So the Republic continued to work on that system for a long 500 years. You can imagine that. And some of the modern democratic constitutions of the world nowadays are still working on the same divisions of the constitution of the Roman Republic. Now, let's talk about religion. Now, in the Roman Republic, there was no separate class of priests to perform religious duties. So these duties were performed by officers themselves who were elected by the people. So they were called pontiffs. They were called pontiffs, and pontifex maximus. This is the word in Roman. Was the chief among the pontiffs. Okay, so it's a group of people called pontiffs, and in the later period, the Roman emperors assumed this title. So the ancient Romans, they worshipped various powers of nature, as you know. Among the Roman gods, with a small g, was what is called Jupiter. Jupiter, who was the most important one. He was the counterpart of the Greek god Zeus. So in Greek, we have a god called Zeus. He is the supreme power, let's say, while in Roman, the supreme power was a god called Jupiter. Okay, so it's Jupiter equals Zeus in Greek. Okay, now Juno, he was the presiding deity of Rome, and among others, also we have other gods. We have Mars, and who was the god of war, and we have also Janus, that was the god of past and present. It's like god of time. Okay, and we have. Maybe this is why we have the word January in English. Okay, now we have also human sacrifice, that prevailed in Rome, but in later period it was not so widespread and accepted at the beginning of the new era. Now, what about the let's say expansion of Roman Republic? Also, it started before the end of the struggle between patricians and plebeians, and Rome brought the whole supremacy. They brought the whole Italy under its control by defeating what is called hostile tribes. So there used to be hostile tribes, so they defeated them, and the supremacy of Rome was established throughout Italy. Now, Roman, and that was called the Roman power, the expansion of the Roman power. Now, in the what is called the Punic Wars, the entire Carthage was destroyed, and the third phase, which is Greece, when Greece, Asia Minor, and Syria and Egypt nowadays also, it was part of them, part of their territories. It was conquered, they were conquered, and the conquest of Julius Caesar, very famous, well-known, leader, he constituted the concluding phase of the expansion of the Republic, Roman Republic. Okay, and the first phase was when it was between 489 till 266 before Christ, when Rome defeated all hostile tribes of Italy. And they were special names you should remember: Equinos or Equians, and we have Volscians, and we have Etruscans, and we have Samites and Greeks. Okay, these were the people at that time, and the Roman supremacy was established throughout what is called the Italian peninsula. And then the Romans granted citizenship to all conquered people, and in the meantime, and that was very important, to give them citizenship, although they were conquering them. Now, in the meantime, what is called Gauls, with a capital G, the Gauls, they invaded Rome, and they moved that into what is called the modern France nowadays. Okay, so it wasn't only Italy; it was also with France. And the second phase, which is called the Punic Wars, at that time it was called the Republic of Carthage, and it was the colony of Phoenicians or Phoenicians, here nowadays called as Carthaginian. And they were very famous with commercial people, with commercial trade also. And that was because of the Mediterranean Sea and the Carthaginian lake. And also they were known, the rise of the Carthage was known as a great naval and commercial power that was known in the Roman Republic. And many conflicts were there at that time between them, during the empire of the Roman influence that took place till it curved into what is called the Great Empire also in Spain. Now, in the second Punic War, we have a very famous character also, which is called Hannibal. Hannibal also, there was a war, Second Punic War, which is called the Hannibalic War. As Hannibal is a leader, is known for his leadership of a war. Hannibal is regarded as one of the greatest warriors in the world of history, and together with, he's ranked together with Alexander and Julius Caesar and Napoleon Bonaparte. So very famous leaders, war leaders. And he belonged to the era of what's called family of Carthage, and his father Hamilcar. And at that time in his childhood, Hannibal took a vow to take revenge of the defeat of his father. And since then, he developed a very strong hatred towards the Romans. And he organized a huge army against the Romans. So that was the defeater. And in the second Punic War, Hannibal also showed his genius as the greatest military leader of his times. And he crossed that distance into the modern France. Then he proceeded towards Italy through Switzerland. He crossed that area through the Great Alps into Italy. And so he was known as a great leader, military leader, with many soldiers with him who died later across in crossing the Alps. And the Romans were defeated at what is called Tribia, and what's called the Cane or the Can. Now they were also the Romans also were in great danger, and the Republic faced a crisis, and the Senate was appointed, by what is called Maximus, who was the dictator at that time. Now, what about the army? The army was encountering a huge, let's say, army and soldiers wearing and having different tactics in military action. And the tactics of Hannibal also has been compared with those of many Persian emperors at that time, and the Russian also against Napoleon Bonaparte later on. Okay, now, so a very famous leader and warrior that governed at that time, and the Roman success was the rise among them with great general named Publius Cornelius. Okay, and he proved himself as a great military. Now later, another let's say warrior or leader came, and that is very famous, which is Julius Caesar. Now I want to end with Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, you should know that he is known in world history and renowned as a great conqueror. And he was a statesman also. He appeared at a time when the Roman Republic was fast and disintegrating, and on the other hand, the members of the Roman Senate became corrupt, and they spent their time in luxury. So after that, the first, what is called the first social war, was there because of that, and because of the injustice that was between that was at that time. The Italians felt that, and they fought with the Romans for their rights and privileges. So it was followed by a civil war between the Senate and the people. And Sulo, who was the leader of the Senate, also was with that civil war, and with Marius, who was the leader who took up the leadership of the people, on the other hand. And a large number of people died in that civil war. And finally, what is called the slave war broke out. And the slaves, under the leadership of Spartacus, fought with the Roman army, and they ultimately the rebellion was suppressed by Croesus and Pompey, another leader. Many leaders ruled at that time till the ruins of the Republic. Okay. Now, what about the early life of Julius Caesar? Julius Caesar was born in 100 BC in a patrician family, and he declared himself as the descendant of Jupiter. So this is very important, as if he is the son of God, okay, the great god Jupiter. And throughout his life, he tried to establish himself as the god. Okay, that's Julius Caesar, very famous, known leader. His father was Julius Caesar, and his mother was called Aurelia. Now, his family had, maternal relation with the plebeians. And at the age of, he also, you should know that Julius Caesar was influenced by the tradition of his family, and thus in the beginning he became a great supporter of the plebeians. Now at the age of 16, Caesar lost his father, and therefore he was brought up to be by his mother Aurelia. Okay. Now Caesar's future greatness was mainly due to what? To the influence of his mother. So he was a leader raised by his mother. Now his tutor Antonius also has an influence over him. He married a number of let's say times, and in order to gain popularity, he married Cornelia, which is the daughter of a progressive friend of Marius. His only daughter was Julia War, who was married to Pompey. Very great leaders that affected Italy at that time. Now, what about the rise of Caesar? Julius Caesar was very ambitious. This is very important to know. He possessed a sharp political insight and was capable of finding different ways in order to meet his political ends. Now, and he had, let's say, many ambitious to rule, and gradually he collected a personal army and became popular among the Romans. And it was on the verge of, they were on the verge of a civil war when Julius Caesar utilized his opportunity to establish his personal rule. Soon after his return to Rome, he first formed what is called a league. So that was the first league at that time in 660 BC. With the powerful persons of Rome to rule and govern. That was the first, let's say, triumph of him over with his army to cross the place. Now the conquest, what is called conquest of Gaul, in order to draw attention of Romans, Julius Caesar wanted to add territories to the republic there through his military conquest. For this, he chose Gaul, and Gaul was his target to conquer. Okay, and he had also an attack or different attacks on England. Now afterward, as I said, the Gauls rebelled against the Romans and the Roman authority. With much of difficulty, Caesar suppressed the Gallic rebellion, and then the Gaul remained under Rome for 300 long years. You can imagine that, until Caesar introduced the Latin culture into Gaul. Now, what about the attack on England? The English helped the Gauls at the time of Caesar invasion. And as a retaliation, Caesar twice attacked England. And he crossed English Channel and proceeded as far as what is called the Thames. He forced English to pay him taxes also. So taxes were known also from that time of Julius Caesar till nowadays. Now, what about the contest? The contest with Pompey. He killed many leaders and soldiers at that time, till we have what is called the Battle of Persepolis, and Caesar decayed. I want to skip this part till he went to Egypt. Caesar fell in love with a beautiful princess, which is Cleopatra. I'm sure you all know that. So Julius Caesar fell in love with Cleopatra, a beautiful princess at that time in Egypt, and a son was born to them. For this act, Julius Caesar has been condemned by many, unfortunately, and from Egypt, Caesar went to Asia Minor and then to North Africa. And he returned to Rome along with Cleopatra and his son. Now, Caesar became dictator again in the Battle of what is called Pharsalus. Actually, it marked the end of the Roman Republic, and Caesar became the supreme authority of Rome. But he did not like to abolish the existing republic system there. So he did not like also to declare himself as an emperor. Now the republic continued only in the name, but to all intents and purposes, it was dead. So he got himself appointed or appointed as a dictator for life, and with a council for 10 years. So he filled the Senate with the supporters, and the Senate lost its power and carried out the dictators dictators of Caesar. Caesar also concentrated all the powers of the Senate in his hands. So this is how he was dictator. Now there was no opposition to him at that time, especially with what is called the supreme judge. He also became the supreme judge, and all people began to worship him like a god. Okay, so Julius Caesar was treated like a god, and it was the rule of one man. So it's real dictatorship, and thus Rome brought under a military dictatorship. Okay, that was how it was. It went at that time. Now, I will conclude with the reforms of of Julius Caesar. After the becoming a dictator, Caesar introduced certain reforms in the administrative system, and that was very important for him to remain. So he aimed at the welfare of his subjects to reform order there, to have order and to codify the Roman laws. Now that was a step to relieve the people from, out of his burden, especially to working on the reduction of powers of provincial governors and the preparation of what is called real judiciary, a new law. Okay. Now, the greatest contribution of Julius Caesar to the world civilization was his what is called his calendar. In his calendar, he introduced a new calendar, which was known as Julian calendar. So it's like رزنامة جديدة اسمها Julian calendar, and that calendar is still in use with a slight modification by Pope Gregory, and the 7th month of the calendar has been named after him as July. Okay, so July, which is the 7th month, okay, it was named, it's very important for you to know, it was named after Julius Caesar. So, okay, so maybe you don't know that. So it's because of the Julian calendar, the name, the 7th month, July. Okay, so now you can understand why it was named after him. Now, till the death of Caesar, many of the Romans did not like dictatorship at that time of Julius Caesar, of course. And to them, the tremendous rise of Caesar was very dangerous, until they moved to democracy in Rome, that was gradually appearing after Caesar, who was going to establish he worked on establishing a royal dynasty of his own. Till the Roman general Mark Antony, who presented the crown to Julius Caesar, and a conspiracy was hatched against them there, when the leader of the conspiracy was Marcus Brutus. I don't know if you heard about this name, Marcus Brutus, who was one of the intimate friends of Caesar. Brutus was prepared to sacrifice his friend for the cause of the country, as he thought or believed. And at that time, Caesar was invited to the Senate Hall, to receive a petition. And Caesar, though aware of the danger of his life, he entered into the Senate Hall in 44 BC, without a personal guard, any personal guards. And there he was assassinated by his conspirators. And Caesar was astonished to see Brutus among the enemies, and so he explained a very famous words said by Julius Caesar, "Eti Brutu." حتى in Arabic it's say "حتى أنت يا Brutus." So he was very astonished to see his friend, his own friend, with a conspiracy against him. So, and in English we say "you too, Brutus." Very famous words. With the death of Caesar, the Republic was not revived, and the hope of restoring the Republic was shattered. And Mark Antony killed the enemies of Caesar. And after the death of Caesar, we have Octavius Caesar, his adopted son. He appeared as a new master of Rome, Octavius Caesar, and the contest for supremacy began between Antony and Octavius. And Rome was again plunged into civil war. And that was, the estimate of Caesar, when Julius Caesar was one among the few who had left, Roman history with many, let's say, wars, civil wars, and soldiers, and many, military actions. So Julius Caesar appeared at that time when the Roman Republic was steadily declining, we say. So it declined till, let's say, at the end, when a fluent, orator talked about that, saying that his contribution, Julius Caesar, to Latin literature was very important and famous. And he recorded also his military achievements in different languages also. And he's known by great historians and historical significance. And at the same time, we should not ignore the dark side of his character, and let's say that was intoxicated with military glory. And he ordered the Romans to worship him like a god, as we said. And his very attempts to perpetuate his rule made and to link it with royalty made that very close to the extent that lots of enemies wanted to kill him. Now, in spite of this shortcoming and his shortcomings, Julius Caesar is looked as a great personality in world history, and he made the Romans great till nowadays. He saved the Roman civilization from destruction many times, and he could influence the course of Roman history through his personality. And the title Caesar came to be associated with the word emperor. So Caesar means emperor. So Al-Qaisar. Till now, the word Caesar means emperor because of him. So it's related to him. And the subsequent Roman emperors styled themselves as Caesars also, even long after Caesar in the 20th century, till the German and the Russian emperors also called themselves as Kaisars or Tsars, respectfully. Okay, so this is how the Roman empire ended, and by this I would like to stop the recording, so that next time we'll begin with what is called the Renaissance. Okay, and that's very, very